Well, I'm excited to tell you that California has done it. Medi-Cal will soon have no resource limits in order to achieve eligibility. Okay, so here's the question. How much money can you have in the bank as your resources and still qualify for Medi-Cal? Well, for a very long time, that number was a tiny little number. It was $2,000 in the bank in order to qualify for Medi-Cal as a disabled person. So that's like nothing. That's horrible, right? But that's what the rules were for a long time. And then Governor Newsom signed a law which said, hold on, changing that. The resource limit will be changed. All right, so right now I'm filming this. It's January 2023. So right now we have increased the resource eligibility limit from $2,000 to $130,000 for a disabled person to be able to receive Medi-Cal. So what does that mean? What's the difference? Well, let's say a disabled person is going along and they receive a $100,000 inheritance from a cousin. Well, isn't that wonderful? But under the old rules, they would have been bumped off Medi-Cal. Horrible situation. So they would need to have created a first-party special needs trust to hold that money and still qualify for Medi-Cal. So because of these changes in the rules, you may not need to set up first-party special needs trust. Okay, and better yet, starting in January 2024, California is completely eliminating the resource limit. So that means if you receive $1 million inheritance, you're not automatically bumped off Medi-Cal. But hold on, should you still hold on to that $1 million? What should you do with that? So we're going to talk about planning in this brave new world. Okay, so when we first learned that there's going to be no resource limits, we got so excited as estate planners, and really this is very exciting. However, it does add more complication to our drafting and our planning. So why would I say that? I mean, isn't this good news, right? Well, the first thing is while Medi-Cal eligibility limits are going away starting January 2024, and they're currently at $130,000, SSI, Supplemental Security Income, resource limits are not changing. They're staying at $2,000. Now, there is some legislation in Congress to increase that to $8,000 or $10,000, but who knows what Congress will do. Right now, SSI is a federally based program that's limited to $2,000. So if you've received some sort of inheritance or litigation settlement or, back payments from SSDI, if you received any of that and you have SSI, you still need a first-party special needs trust to hold your money to protect for SSI benefits. Okay, another thing we're looking at is while Medi-Cal doesn't have, or it won't have any resource limits starting in January 2024, there are still income limits. So you can earn, in order to receive Medi-Cal and not have to pay for the Medi-Cal, you can earn up to, it's about $1,560 a month here in California and still receive your Medi-Cal for free. Once you exceed that income, then you have to start paying what we call a share of cost, all right? And that can be very expensive. That means you have to pay your share for any hospital bills or prescription drug costs, and you don't want to do that. So you need to make sure that your income remains below that certain amount, which is about $1,560 a month. Okay, so let's go back to, let's say, such a blessing, you received $1 million inheritance, it's coming in, you put it in a first-party special needs trust, or can you just put it into a revocable trust? Well, if you put it in a revocable trust, let's say you're just getting Medi-Cal and not SSI, you put it into a revocable trust, what if there's income that's being generated over about $1,560 a month? That counts as your income, and that could interfere with Medi-Cal. You'd have to start paying a share of cost, which you don't want to do, all right? If you put the $1 million into a first-party special needs trust, any income that's generated does not count as your income for public benefits purposes, okay? So that could be an argument for a first-party special needs trust. Now, if you keep the money under a pillow or in cash and it's not generating any income at all, then you may not have that problem. So these are really factors to weigh. There's no easy answer here. Another thing to think about as we look at the changes to Medi-Cal eligibility is this. This discussion only applies to California. We are definitely more progressive, ahead of our time. I'm thrilled with that. I tend to be more progressive myself. But what if you need to move, or your disabled child needs to move to another state at some point? Well, only California is doing away with the resource limit for Medi-Cal. Okay? Every other state, as far as I know, $2,000 resource limit for Medicaid in that state. So your child is basically going to be stuck in California for the rest of their lives, which I think is wonderful. I love California. But if they want to move somewhere else, then they would have to do more planning to be able to qualify for Medicaid in those other states. So keep in mind that really for planning purposes, we're just talking about California. Okay, so maybe you're watching this and you're thinking, well, hold on, I don't even get Medi-Cal. I just get SSDI and Medicare. I get Social Security Disability Insurance and Medicare. Both of those programs are not affected by resources. And so for those programs, you typically don't have to worry. However, sometimes people want to get both Medi-Cal and Medicare, all right? We call it Medi-Medi. That's our cutesy name for it. So if you're receiving SSDI and Medicare, but you want to look into Medi-Cal, maybe it covers prescription drugs, or Medi-Cal is very important for long-term nursing home stays. Medicare doesn't pay for that, but Medi-Cal does. Then you'll want to maintain your Medi-Cal eligibility, and the things that we discuss in this video are more important to you. I hope you found this interesting, and I encourage you to watch my video all about Medi-Cal that's available over here. Thank you, and we'll see you over there.